This is Rick Prokop at Piano Power Lessons. Today we're going to look at the slow movement of the Chopin Waltz in C-sharp minor. But before we get started, let's have a listen. So, as you can see, it's a very beautifully written piece, and today we're going to spend some time seeing why it works so well. So the slow movement is really an Italian operatic love song, and Chopin loved Italian opera, and yet there was his Polish side. You know, the Polish dances. And then on the Italian side, you had things like right? Which is similar to right? So this dichotomy shows up in many of his pieces, and then there's the always extra part of Chopin's personality, which is his individuality, and the colors that perhaps come from living in France and being in French culture. So all of these form a perfect blend in Chopin's writing. Many of Chopin's pieces begin on the fifth of the scale. So we start out with no color, and then lots of color, lots of warmth. Similarly, we have what I already played. So here's the fifth, no color, and then the root in the third. Tons of color, tons of warmth. And then in this piece, in the first part, the Polish part, we have a fifth and then color, right? So my question to you is, why doesn't he begin the second movement on the fifth? And why does he begin instead on the third? And I came up with three interesting reasons. Number one, he began on the fifth. So he doesn't want to reiterate that. Okay, so that's reason number one. Reason number two, by beginning on the major third of D flat major, he establishes maximum warmth right at the outset. And reason number three is melodic, and the camera's kind of in the way here. I'm going to try to play it for you, but the last thing you hear before coming to the second movement is this. So you hear this E, and then you have this following. So melodically, it really makes a lot of sense too. Let's go down to the keyboard now and take a look at the harmonies in the left hand and also the chromatic melody that rises as a counterpoint to the melody in the right hand. So let's go over the triads of D flat major. One is D flat, F, A flat. The 2 chord is E flat minor, E flat, G flat, B flat. The 3 chord is F minor, F, A flat, C. 4 chord, G flat, B flat, D flat. 5 chord, A flat, C, E flat with the 7th. 6 chord, B flat minor, B flat, D flat, F. And 7 chord is the C diminished, which is the upper part of the A flat 7th. Now let's look at how Chopin uses those same triads to construct the left hand of the piece. So he begins with D flat major, and the upper voice of the triad moves up in half steps to B flat. So at this point, this chord is now B flat minor in first inversion. Now the bottom voice moves chromatically, so we have the D flat coming up to a D. Now we have a B flat major chord, which is 5 of E flat. E flat minor, I should say. So it's 5 of the 2 chord. Well, let's look at that again. So we have this. Okay, and then beginning on the E flat minor chord, he takes that upper voice again and moves it up chromatically. And at this point, this chord is an A flat 7th. We're missing the A flat. And in the actual piece, this G flat is up here. And then he lets go of that G flat and then brings this E flat up chromatically. So he has that to an F minor. And in the piece, he's voicing it this way with an open position. So to review that, there's your A flat 7th, and here is, and this is a C 7th because in the melody he has a C and a B flat at that point, and that C 7th then brings us to F minor. Okay, at this point he breaks with the tradition of moving up in half steps, and the top voice moves up a whole step to the D, and that D is part of a B flat 7th chord, which then brings us to an E flat minor. And the piece still hasn't emotionally climaxed. So now he's going to throw in a diminished 7th chord to bring us to a second inversion D flat chord, and then an A flat 7th chord, and then the D flat again. And the function of that diminished 7th chord is a bridge between the 2 chord and the 1 chord. You've heard this in jazz. All right, so that's how that's functioning right there. So to recap, this is the harmonic and melodic journey that the left hand is taking in the first 16 bars. So we begin with D flat augmented, B flat minor, B flat major, E flat minor, a passing tone, bringing us to A flat 7th, C 7th, F minor, B flat 7th, E flat minor, diminished, D flat, A flat 7th, and D flat. Well, that should do it for today. In the next lesson, we'll learn the actual notes and voicings of the left hand. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.